We are unemployed. We are both unemployed. We both got fired at the same time because we refused to put pronouns in our bio.
Yeah, like it's insane. It's oh my, I cannot believe that this happened to us. And I've got all the receipts, and it's as crazy as it sounds.
Yeah, we're about to tell you a story. Let's just pop off.
I have a lot of things to say. I'm just gonna kind of be a little diplomatic, but like working in businesses that are run by leftists, not modern leftists, not people who might be like moderate left, like center left, liberal left, you know, like the woke types. The things that I experienced over the last 2 weeks are nothing short of insane. Let me start from the end and work my way backwards.
Yeah.
I'm a professional content creator.
And a teacher.
And so it was time to combine the two. I got an opportunity from one of my students who is a big tech kind of like web developer, like tech entrepreneur type thing. But it wasn't supposed to be something about tech. He just wanted to help fund me and get a singing course going because, you know, that's something that people have been kind of asking me to do for a long time. And he thought that it was something that was needed in the community because all the courses out there are bad, blah, 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 blah. So I'm going to skip to the end and we'll work backwards. I tried it, and today he pulled the rug out from under me on the project because I would not put my pronouns.
Yeah, so basically,
I lost my job because I would not put my pronouns in my Discord bio.
Yeah. Where do we start?
There's so many layers to peel back. So I have all the receipts. I'm not going to put them all up unless I need to.
It's a serious issue because infiltrating the workspace with an ideology that is created from child abuse, like I will never not stand against that. And it is literally like affecting my ability to subsist as a human being.
Yep. I've been tasked to develop a singing training course because I'm a professional content creator / singing teacher. I've worked at multiple schools. I went to college, everything. Like, this is my job, okay? I've developed a name for myself on the internet. I don't have a huge channel, but I'm close to 5 figures in subscribers on my YouTube channel. So it's enough to where I've got an audience, right? I've never been a big person about outreach. I've always thought that the people who are wanting to be around my content, who want to hear what I have to say and want to listen to me and learn from me will do that. I think it'll speak for itself, and I don't need to go out and market myself too much. He came to me and wanted to fund this course, but he came to my house.
Yeah,
I wined and dined me.
I let him sleep in my bed. I washed his clothes for him. He wanted to sleep with me. He asked where I was sleeping that night. I washed his clothes for him because he said he needed a washer because he was traveling.
Yeah, he basically wined and dined me and convinced me that we were going to make this course and he wanted to fund it. The deal was that he would cover my living expenses for 6 months in terms of stipends to give me enough time and enough so I could just teach passively like I do. Like I could passively teach. I don't have to focus on finding more students and growing my business. I have enough money to where my teaching money would cover any extraneous expenses that I might need. After 6 months, we would release the course and try to sell it, and we would take a cut after we made the $10,000 back that he was going to cover for my living expenses. We were going to take a split. He talked to me like, dude, you need to do this. You're really need to do this. You're really like the world needs this. Like your perspective is so different. You're so articulate about these things. You're talking about things in ways that no one else can. Like you need to do this.
Yeah, he's a silver-tongued snake.
And so I said, all right, cool. I've never been one to do this, but I'm going to trust you. You're a student of mine. I've known you for a couple of years. Like you've always been straight up with me. Like I'm going to go with this in good faith. What happened with you while he was visiting?
So he was in town and I said we should all do something fun together. And I said, oh, hey, we have a vocal teacher and a vocal student. I bet they'd love karaoke because I'm an extrovert. And so I was like, why don't we sing some karaoke? We can have a drink or two. Drink or two tops, right? Well, all the karaoke bars were full. And he's like, is there anywhere else? I know this club area that was made into a castle, or a castle was made into a club, and it's really neat. It's kind of old-timey, really cool place that has alternative music. And he said, okay, we'll go there. I can order us a taxi. He only had his credit card. How they kind of bill you is they give you like a ticket for drinks, and then you have to pay when you get out.
Your tab. They give you a card for your tab.
And they wouldn't let us leave without cash. I mean, this is your story, actually.
Well, I don't care so much about the nearly getting mugged kind of thing. I'm not too worried.
My
about
brother
that
almost got fucking mugged in the middle of the night because basically this guy told him to go get cash because he wanted to get drunk. You know, getting yelled at by people who don't speak English and surrounded by 6 grown men around an ATM in the middle of the night. Okay, that a taxi had to come around and fucking help him out. So while that's happening, this guy is literally like crying all over me about how he doesn't
deficient.
He's a little deficient. He doesn't work quite correctly in certain areas. How he was crying over some girl that he liked, and he's like, I'm just so sad, and I just want to drink, and I just want to make out with somebody. And I was like, well, you might be able to. I don't know, dude. And he's like, well, I'd make out with you as a last resort. And I was like, what? And then he went on to his impotency.
I literally walked right past them in the lobby. I mean, I'd literally just been surrounded by a bunch of dudes in an ATM that were screaming at me while I was trying to get money out in the middle of the night. So I was in...
Not in English. Not in English, you guys.
Yeah, they weren't screaming in English. Upset, and my heart was pounding, and they're trying to talk to me and get me, like, to calm down. And I mean, like, I've never had anything like that happen to me my entire life, so I was freaking out, right?
And he said he was too drunk to get back to his hotel. And I said, okay, well, I guess you come back to our apartment. I said, if you want, you know, until you sober up, we could like play some Mario Kart or something while you sober up, and then you can get a taxi to your hotel. He ended up just sleeping over here. And I said, okay, you can sleep in my bed. It's all right. And he was like, well, where are you going to sleep? Are you going to sleep there too? And I'm like, no, I'm not. And I'll see you in the morning. And he went and got a taxi in the morning. And I washed his clothes for him. And he used my shower and my bed. That was day one.
And ate my pizza.
And ate my brother's pizza. He insulted our friends who were being kind enough to drive us around the next day. Yeah,
the nature of the insults I can't really talk about. But I will generally frame them as saying that he was being extremely profiling and discriminatory.
He was being pretty racist, to be honest.
Prides himself on being some champion for women and for social justice. That's an important detail.
Yeah, right? He is a virtue signaler, okay? Yeah. I mean, with how he's already talked to me, you guys don't even know all the things he said to me yet. He was crying and crying because apparently, you know, someone had unalived themselves recently. And me, being an empathetic person, understood because my best friend Matt jumped in 2019. So I was trying to come at him with sympathy and like, I know, you know, your friend, but he was trying to say like, oh, well, I didn't know him that well. And I'm like, okay. But then he was like crying about him because he was gay. I was like, okay. Anyway, he took that as an opportunity to like hold my hand and touch my thigh and touch my shoulders and put his arm around me.
Put his head on her shoulder.
Put his head on me. Because we were trauma bonding over our unalived friends. Nice. Cool. This is someone who like promised to like, you know, get me a job, by the way. He was being very rude to our friends and insisted that he sat with me in the back seat. Here's something he said. It's kind of funny. I remember our friend who was being so gracious to drive us around had a convertible and he put the top down, the windows down for us. And I said, oh, I got to put my hair up. And he's like, why? And I was like, oh, you know, because I'm the fair sex. I was kidding, okay? I was kidding and memeing. And he looks at me dead in the eye. He's like, that was very misogynistic of you to say.
To call a girl misogynistic, saying that she's the fair sex.
Yeah, I was like
try unpeeling those layers of intellectual fucking quicksand / gymnastics, broken logics. So just to continue what happened.
Technically, I was in the company, right? And I am a video editor. And he hired me as such to edit his actual work streams as well as the project under my brother. So
you kind of have to understand the framework of all this for it to make sense. I made an agreement with him, a business agreement to make this course, okay? I knew that he had some kind of project going on, some kind of development project going on, and I was like, yeah, you're a tech guy. This is what you guys do. I don't know about this kind of stuff. And he was like, look, dude, yeah, I'm gonna fund you. I'll get you the stuff you need. Here's my credit card number. Order what you need for yourself. Don't worry about it. Okay, so I order a microphone that I needed. I order some soft boxes for lighting. You know, I ordered a couple little things, not much. SD card reader, not a lot. I tried to save him money on this. I didn't want him to spend too much because I thought that with the gear that I already have from YouTube, and my teaching, I could probably get away with using it, so I didn't spend that much. The night before he goes back home, we're all hanging out in my room, and he's all sad about my friend, and also that he's switched over to this whole, like, I got this girl that I'm talking to, and, like, I don't know how to approach things with her, and I don't think she's gonna like me, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, she's probably not gonna like you because you'll probably cheat on her.
Yeah, you're probably dark triad, and you can't be trusted by anybody. I'm sitting here in my computer chair, looking at my own bed with this dude who wants me to work for him, putting his hands all over my sister, okay?
And I'm like visually uncomfortable, but like I said, this is at the same time where he's like pulling some BS of like, I'm so sad, I'm just so depressed.
And there's this big potential project that I'm going to be doing that could make us money, and like, it's going to help me rebuild my brand and all these things. Go ahead, why don't you do the honors of what he said to you in front of my face?
I wouldn't f you because you're too old. Don't you think I get a say in that, buddy? I said, you're not effing anybody with what you got down there, bud.
Sitting here like, how am I even supposed to process this? Like, this guy who says he's a champion for women in tech, literally telling me that she's too old.
I was literally counting the minutes for him to leave, and he did. He was out to fly to somewhere, and he had a mental breakdown, and so his rich daddy had to buy him a first-class ticket home immediately. Aww.
Yeah, by the way, this guy's dad's a billionaire. Just throwing that out there. Literally an actual billionaire. His dad's an actual billionaire.
The kind of billionaire that buys like two different businesses that are competing so they can compete with each other and make them more profit.
Buys out companies, becomes a CEO, and uses market manipulation to create fake competition in the market to drive prices up. At this point, I'm thinking like, maybe since he's leaving, I don't have to deal with him directly in person anymore, and I can just do this project from afar.
Yeah, we were already hired. We were already in the books. We had already started the project.
And he paid me for half of the first month.
Yeah, he even paid a little bit up front, like, to get the project started. So
I was thinking, like, this is okay. Even if this guy is like a total douchebag, borderline predatory, rich, spoiled, like trust fund, far left idiot, whatever.
We'll get there.
Like, I can deal with the posturing. I don't like him messing with my sister, but he's not going to do that anymore. So, like, I guess that's over, and I'll continue with the project because I believe in myself, and I think I can do this. He had diagnosed bipolar disorder. As a matter of fact, one thing that he insisted in our negotiations is that he retains entire ownership of the project when I'm done with it.
Which is ridiculous because, like, it is completely my brother's course, his curriculum that he wrote.
It's entirely mine, my creation. So yeah, it's an important detail to note that he wanted ownership of everything. And I didn't like that. I said I could kind of be okay with this if I'm going to be making the kind of money because of the outreach that he says he has and that kind of thing. You know, and I was not going to have to put up any of my own money. So I was okay with it. All my living expenses would be covered until it's done. So I could justify this in my head. Maybe I could talk to him about it a little bit more later and we can figure something out. Once this project gets underway, this guy then says, hey, I want you to join my company's Discord server. I want to kind of unify everything I'm doing, have it all in one place. And I asked him, so does this mean I'm going to be a part of your company or your business? He said, no. I just want everything to be in the same server. And so I was like, fine. I go into the server. There's like 8 people in there. And, most of them have he, her, they, them, she, it, they, whatever, blah, blah, So I was like, okay, this is what we're dealing with here. They didn't even say hello to me. I just came into the server, and I had my little section for my project, and my assistant was in there. Go ahead.
So then he texts me. He literally said verbatim, I need you to join this Discord. He said, I need you, N-E-E-D. I need you to join this Discord. I said, okay. He said hello to me, and I was like, yeah, introduce yourself. Tell everyone why you're awesome. And I said, salutations, fellow colleagues and coders. Part-time video editor, full-time cat mom, and sister. Pleased to be on the team. And I talk a little bit about my credits of where I graduated from, some other work I've done, live event production, video, audio, editorial projects. So I did an introduction, which is what he asked of me. No one said hello after that. And then this girl, she literally calls herself Peachy. Her profile picture, let's just imagine this together, guys. Okay, so it's literally her thumb pulling down her shirt to expose cleavage, okay? I'm gonna read you her profile. Wired in, developer, she, her, pan. I like music a lot, cat in human form. We looked at her TikTok, we looked at her Instagram, all bikini pics, literally making videos of her at the club, chugging bottles, kissing girls, talking about literally dropping people in her life, whatever. She comes out of nowhere and is just like, put your pronouns in your bio. After my boss made a huge thing about me doing an introduction and talking about my past credits, you know, why I'm actually there. Like, I have the receipts that I'm good at this. And she's just like, put your pronouns in your bio. What is this about? And then he says, oh, well, we need to remember that people from other cultures are here.
I get tagged as well, put your pronouns in your Discord bio. The only thing was thinking in my mind is like, this is, I'm not in this business. I'm not a part of this development team. I'm literally in this server because the guy wanted me to be in it so we could consolidate. He and I get into a private discussion about the pronouns thing, and I tell him, I'm not comfortable with this. First off, I didn't even realize I was part of your team, and I haven't worked in a corporate environment in over 10 years. Probably 10 years. Like, this is not anything I'm familiar with at all. This pronoun thing is not something that I do. Like, I'm not into this. I don't do this. And I said, wait, but I thought I wasn't even part of your company. He said, what you are. You're actually in my company. We're going to be merging your product. Your course is going to be the pilot for my education platform that I'm building. So we're going to be using your course to launch our entire platform for people. And I was not informed of this. There was nothing in our agreement that said anything about this. And he said, don't worry, you don't have to worry about anything, just focus on your course. And I said, all right, cool, I don't do the pronouns thing. And he was like, well, why not? What's wrong with the pronouns? And so we get into this thing where I said, I don't understand it. And I get on a phone call with him where he basically says, look, dude, this is industry standard. Everybody in tech puts their pronouns on their Discord so people can know if they're guys or girls. It helps prevent against sexual harassment, mistaken identity issues. And so he said, like, the lead dev of this, like, is non-binary and puts they, them, but like I call him all the time. Like, don't worry about it. He doesn't care. He just put them there. It doesn't matter. I'm thinking like, all right, I have some serious issues here, but I'm already in agreement with this guy and he's already paid me. So I've got to start making this course. So I develop a video of the course and I show him some results from it. And he's really happy about the work. It's really clean and polished. It looks super professional. It's good. I'm very, very proud of the work I've done so far. And you know, we'll get there. I'm very proud of it. I think it's some of the best work I've done in terms of content creation and the quality of it. I talked to one of my friends who says, dude, like, here's how you handle this. This is a person who is very familiar with contracts and royalty deals and things like that. And I trust him about as much as I trust anybody. And he said, here's what you need to do. I've been through this many times. See if you guys can rework your deal a little bit to where you even take a lesser cut out of your royalties, but you're given a tiny percentage of equity in the company. And while you won't actually own your course, you'll own a little tiny bit of the platform, and that way you'll feel like it's something that you contributed to, and that'll help that rectify that in your head. And he said, as far as your pronouns, he said, like, I work for a big corporation. If they ask me to put my pronouns there, I'm probably going to have to put my pronouns there, or else I'm going to lose my 6-figure job. And I said, yeah, but this isn't a big corporate business like this, and I don't think I should do it. And he said, well, and so we talked about it, and so here's what I did. I sent my boss, former boss, whatever, the financier, I sent him a big message that said, look, man, I feel like I kind of went about this the wrong way, and I'd like to align with you. And there are a few things that I'm concerned about that don't necessarily have anything to do with, you know, the pronouns specifically, but I would be more willing to kind of acquiesce to you guys' ideologies and kind of align with this a little bit more if you're willing to work with me. The biggest concern, the biggest sticking point I have here is not money. I don't care about the money that much. I don't need a ton of money to live. I want to feel like what I've created is partially mine. Like, even if I make less money because of the stake percentage, I can at least feel like I get to keep something that's mine a little bit. He flies back at me a voice message on, dude, you don't have any leverage at this point. You don't get to renegotiate with me. Like, I've already had to take your drama with the pronouns and go to my team and try to justify that you're the odd man out that doesn't have to do pronouns.
Can I interject here? Because, like,
yeah.
He literally was like, oh, if you don't change your pronouns, then this girl, the one I told you about, the she, her, pan, peachy, she's going to be in my DMs if you don't just change your pronouns.
Far left woke hypocrisy in the purest form. He's like, you realize that asking me for equity is you're just trying to have power over me? You don't get to do that. You don't get to take power from me. You can't sit here and make me go to bat for you because you don't want to put pronouns up because of your stupid ideology.
By the way, I was asleep during all of this.
And I told him, I was like, I didn't even know I was going to be in this Discord server. I don't know what your rules in tech are. And I said, it sounds like this pronoun thing isn't about respect. It's about assimilation. I have it. Literally, I could screen cap it where he says, it is, in bold, is about assimilation.
Yep, he said
The
it.
pronouns, it is about assimilation.
So there it is, guys. All you conspiracy theorists were right. It is assimilation.
And so you have to have people in this assimilated thing where everyone identifies themselves in this certain way. He said it is about assimilation. And that struck me. Like, I mean, of course I knew all this woke shit was garbage anyway. That was the moment where I knew that wokeism is destroying the world. That was the moment where I saw the reality of it.
Yeah, it is this bad.
It continued on. And I said, look, I'm trying to find some way we can meet in the middle. Then instead of talking to me in good faith, he starts saying, well, I'm just going to take more of your cut. Like, I'll keep doing the project, but you're going to have to pay for your own assistant, and I'm not going to give you as big of a cut once the whole thing's over. If you want to rework the deal, it's going to be like this. I said, look, man, I forget about the equity. Like, I'm literally just trying to find a way where I feel like I can align with this company and have a invested stake in it in some way, because I'm having to give away the work that I did. I did not know that me talking about this was going to offend you. I literally asked for advice from people and some other sources on how I could handle this amicably and diplomatically with you. And he's literally said, well, that's real bad advice to dealing with an overconfident 23-year-old. Like, that's literally what this guy said to me. I said, look, dude, just leave the original deal as it is. It's fine. Like, we will work something out, leave it as it is. I did not mean to cause a problem. Well, then I get a message about 15, 20 minutes later. Wait, I want to ask you about this ideology stuff. And so then he starts, like, browbeating me about why I won't use pronouns and how I'm a transphobe. I'm going to take your cut because I don't want to work with people like you. So he banned me from his Discord server.
What they said about us was like, oh, did the content creators leave the Discord?
They don't align with our views. They didn't fit into our culture. It's best for them not to be here. And then the peachy girl, her response was, I'm so glad you noticed.
I'm so glad you noticed.
The boss is paying her almost slave wages to do coding, and she's okay with it because she was so desperate to get into the tech market. He's literally just using the fact that she's cheap. That's the benefit. She's cheap. Cheap labor. I'm sure she's cheap in a lot of ways.
That is not normal what they're doing in that Discord.
So we have a little bit of a history in a good way, not a negative history. All of this was very unfamiliar from him. I had not seen this side of him before. He was a voice student of mine. I'd worked with him for a long time, well over a year, on his singing. You know, he'd been dealing with some mental issues, and I told him in the past, you need to surround yourself with stable people so they don't take advantage of you when you're in these manic depressive phases. I started telling him, like, dude, I think there are people in your business, in your community, that are currently taking advantage of you. I honestly believe that, and I'm trying to level with you so that we can make something work here. And so then he's like, well, that's a big claim. You got to make some big evidence for that. Yeah, another auxiliary anecdote to add on to that is that when this guy had to be sent back home by his parents because he had a breakdown where he was at, their PR manager basically made a statement saying that he's not around right now, so your payments for this month may be delayed until he's here to get it settled. Well, then this same girl, the first thing she doesn't say, is he okay? She goes, I'm just going to have to go back to bartending. But then on her Instagram has a picture of her sitting on top of a brand new car she bought herself. Look at this new toy I just bought. So this person is a problem, okay? And so all I do is insinuate to him that there are people on his team that might not be operating in his best interest. Well, he flips a gasket. He's like, give me some evidence. And I said, well, you just banned me from your Discord server. So all of my evidence is going to come from my memory, and memory is fallible. So you've just created a self-fulfilling prophecy to where my evidence will not be exactly what she says. And so he said, I'm not letting you be a part of this project because you're attacking my teammates. The way that he hired these people, including this girl, this peachy girl, was to pay them as little as possible so that he would be able to save money. She effectively had $130,000 worth of leverage over him because of the fact that he was paying her basically the equivalent of $10 an hour to be a tech developer, and if she caught wind of a better deal, they could easily poach her from him.
Yeah, he's only known her for 6 months, and 3 of those months he was in a mental institution, and my brother has known him for years.
He puts her first because probably there's some, and then he was like, oh no, I changed my mind. I will work with you, but now I'm taking 90%. I'm taking 90% of the cut, and you only get 10%. And I said, why? And he said, because you're a dick, that's why.
Yeah, because you're a dick. The classic ad hominem. This is too ridiculous to be a lie.
I am going to read this quote, because he's talking about how, I'm being illogical, and I'm saying how the things I'm saying make perfect sense in terms of logical continuity. And I said, if you want to talk about logic, calling me names, calling me weird for my ideologies is an ad hominem. This is his response. I'm totally in my right to make an ad hominem when my arguments don't convince you. Quote.
Unbelievable.
If you don't agree with me, I'm going to call you names. It's the craziest thing. Like, these people are real. People actually think like this. And the irony of this is that through the entirety of this conversation, he's like, I'm a pragmatist. Ad hominems are the opposite of pragmatism. Crazy.
And I was asleep during all of this, and my brother got 3 hours of sleep, and I woke up and I was like, WTF, and I was kicked from the Discord, and now I guess I'm fired. I was on the payroll.
I mean, I'm sure she's never going to see it. Anyway, the conversation ends up continuing a little bit more, but it ultimately goes to, he says, oh, I'm going to bed. You have 10 hours from when I wake up to convince me to continue doing business with you. And as a matter of fact, let me read what I said. You know what value I bring. You know what elements of me make me profitable and worth investing in. If you don't invest in me, my life goes back to how it was before this whole thing started. And I've lived with that before, and I can continue to live with it if I have to. I still stand by the notion that you have blinders on to the way that people treat you. And if me not walking that back means that you decide to move on, then I can live with that and know that I at least tried to do what I thought was right. One voice message you sent me was, you're just so prideful. Your problem is that you're prideful and you will never admit that you're wrong. All you care about is being right. Oh, and by the way, another thing that he argued when I started trying to explain why I don't do the pronoun thing, talking about John Money and how like the gender studies thing is spurious and there's a lot of bad research, blah, blah, blah. He said, dude, you're just arguing from books and papers and studies, only viewing the world from the prism of your books that you've read. And you won't look at the interpersonal experience of being around people and understanding who they are. Basically, another thing he accused me of, he said, I was in religion for years, and the reason I left is because people are dogmatic and ideological about everything, and you're being the same way, and there's no use for me to have someone so ideological in my life, just like all the people I left at the church. And I told him, I was raised Southern Baptist, and I've worked in 2 churches throughout my life, and I've met some of the most ignorant people I've ever met in the church. And so I know what it's like to be people to try to brainwash you with their ideologies. He can't pull that card on me. I've been there.
Speaking of pulling cards, this peachy girl that's a total... she's hired onto the team, because she's supposed to be an advocate for mental health and autism and tech. And he's like virtue signaling about how he supports and advocates for women while he's talking to me so inappropriately, disregarding the fact that, I don't know, it's your thing to tell, but
I was diagnosed with high functioning autism, which means that I have some hang-ups. I have some struggles with some things that aren't normal. I don't use it as a crutch, but I don't let it debilitate me, and I find ways to deal with it without having to rely on, social justice to validate me, because I don't believe that that's how you should deal with your problems. If somebody, wants to come to my aid, I will welcome it, but I'm not going to impose the things I deal with onto other people because that's irresponsible. And that's not right. This girl supposedly is an advocate for autism, right? But what does that matter, right? That doesn't matter at all. I told this guy, what I ended up saying is I said, I'm not interested in having leverage. I don't think about things in the perspective of having leverage. I did not ask you for a stake because I wanted power. I don't want power. I certainly don't want to have a power struggle with you. But if the base criteria of morality is naming my pronouns, then I don't want to be a part of that social strata because I think it is reductive and ridiculous.
I'm very proud of you for standing your ground. But with him doing that, I got fired by proxy.
But the next series of messages I get from this guy are saying things like, I can't trust anything about you. As emotional and as irrational as you are, I don't even know if the things that you teach are true. So I responded, and I said, I think this whole thing was blown out of proportion. I was trying to be honest and candid about all of this, and I was trying to, I was trying to talk to you in good faith, and you accused me of trying to have leverage. And I said, that's completely preposterous because even if you gave me a 0.25% stake, that's very little. He says, I'm done here. And I said, you've been calling me using ad hominems, dick, among other things, simply because we disagree. He said, I'm blocking you. Then he unblocks me a little bit later and says that you might view this block as vindictive, but that's not the intention. I just don't have the emotional bandwidth to take the abuse. So he tells me that I am being abusive to him, when I literally am trying to find a middle ground, trying to level with him, and that I want to get rid of the pronoun thing and just do this project. I don't think that anybody could look at my side of the conversation and think that I was being abusive. Because I was completely calm. I never called him any names. I never got heated.
The way that he just cries abuse, right? What does that sound like? We've heard this before, right, guys? This is some crazy shit, like insane psycho, dark triad, narcissistic, sociopathic shit. And we needed to talk about it because it's not right.
This is what happens when you get involved in woke leftist work establishments. Fired, and you will have rugs pulled out from under you because you will not show your pronouns. You know what? I am completely fine with this. And I'm not trying to call myself a martyr or some grand thing. But, you know, I see all these people cowering to these woke idiots. Don't. What are they going to do? Call you abusive because you won't give your pronouns? Who's actually going to listen to that? Other than their little circle jerk of people. Stand your ground to these people.
Like the sweetest girl, like I describe her, like her soul is like sunshine on a summer day. Like that's how I describe her.
Literally didn't even fire her himself. Got one of his colleagues to private message her and fire her she did nothing wrong. She was hired to be my assistant and to be their designer for their company. But because she was associated with me and didn't just immediately agree with everything that this guy said when they met, they fired her.
3 people are out of a job over pronouns, and I will never put my pronouns in the bio because the whole culture is created off of child abuse. And these people refuse to look at those facts. His daddy with his daddy's credit card will always bail him out.
That's what we're dealing with. These virtue signaling leftists, these far woke leftists that virtue signal and want to be condescending to people, they have no struggles. And what's funny is that when I was talking to this guy telling him about my childhood, I had a rough childhood. And that's okay. I'm not trying to get pity. It happened 30 years ago. It's over. When I talked about this, he's like, yeah, I can't really relate to you. I'm like your typical rich kid that grew up completely privileged, so it's hard for me to understand where you're coming from. That was this guy's rhetoric. Now I'm broke. So he was going to pay me a stipend every month to cover my expenses so I can work on this project. And I only got half of it, and he's not paying me the other half, obviously. Even though I did work, I finished a big chunk of this course already.
And he owes me money too. I've already put hours of work into this.
I want to finish because it got started, and it was really good. I feel like it's some of the best stuff I've ever produced. So anyway, the plan here is that I want this course to move forward. I've already got a couple of people I've talked to who are potentially willing to be like pseudo private investors, not to the tune of $10,000 and pay my bills for 6 months so I can focus on the course, but like the people that are willing to put some money behind it to like keep the thing rolling because it is good. I think
it is, and it deserves the marketing and it deserves the ad reads. You know, he was just willing to throw $30K at famous people to like do ad reads for us to get this course off the ground. Like that's the kind of money that like we were promised because you know it was going to go 50% back to him. So
I've had my own issues with the vocal instruction community on the internet, and that's a whole different story for a different day. But it really killed my passion for a lot of this. And that's been I'm a musician. I'm a musician my whole life. I've been doing this my whole life since I was 5 years old. I'm 36 now. A guy didn't like the things I said on my YouTube channel, so he found the school I was working at and tried to get me fired from it. That happened once. Being a content creator is dangerous, people. I'm telling you. Trust me on this.
Three people all got fired at once because we would not give into the pronouns, and one of it was for religious Christian reasons. Like
that reminds me. And I said to him, I was like, how are we going to reconcile this with these people that are going to be collating this content that I'm kind of like omitting the non-binary trans type stuff from my instruction? And he said, if you get canceled, that's good because you'll make more money from it. And guess who he used as an example? Jeremy of the Quartering.
He said something along the lines of like, I'm willing to forego the relationship of Ellie's channel and the Quartering, meaning that apparently he doesn't like what Jeremy says. A lot of you guys know me from Jeremy's channel because he took a chance on me because I protect the children. So he put me in the creator spotlight, and I will always, always, always thank him for that. And it's just wild that this guy brings up Jeremy as this weird like comparison of like how his popularity is a bad thing almost, but also like wanting controversy with this, but not really wanting controversy with this on a personal level to the point where he would fire us over it.
Going back through all this right now, it's just, I would not put my pronouns in my bio.
We didn't even all talk about it. That's the crazy thing is that my brother is the only one who actually talked to him about it. Me and the other girl hadn't talked to him yet at all.
Because I said, look, you are cutting X, this other girl, out of this without her consent. You're costing her job by doing this, like she didn't do anything to deserve this. And he sent me a voice message that said, no, You need to explain this to her. You're the one costing her a job. And then he said, do I need to send her the screenshots?
It's insanity.
I showed her the screenshots because I have nothing to be ashamed of.
Yep.
I did nothing wrong.
You did nothing wrong. And I'm proud of you for doing that.
And then this is how he treats us. Do not work for a woke left company.
We are broke right now, like actually broke. Like we just lost our jobs at the same time.
Like I teach, but like my teaching income is meager.
That was one of his students, so now he's got one less student, and the audacity of him trying to make him lose another student. Like that's do you guys get that?
I teach independent individuals, and so like my students pay my paycheck, and he tried to undermine my relationship with one of my other students.
Not only did he disrupt our livelihood and like try to like convince us that he would invest in this big project so we could get ahead, but he's also trying to take away some of our income at the same time.
It's insane. And the fact that he had the gall to temporarily unblock me and tell me that he blocked me so he didn't have to deal with the emotional abuse when like I did nothing abusive to him.
He's a virtue signaler who will say, oh, pronouns are important and industry standard, and my they them friend who's actually a he, who I call a he, and oh, I advocate for women in the tech industry and in jobs, but actually I'm going to grope them in front of their brother.
So, yeah, that's the story. Thank you, guys. I hope that this is enlightening. They may have taken a job opportunity away from me, and they may have hurt my income a little bit, but I'm still right here. And there are too many people who are afraid to stand up to this. No excuses. I'm not trying to shame anybody, but I'm saying, like, you could stand up to these people. But no one can call me a hypocrite. I'm not trying to make myself look good. I'm not. I feel empowered by standing up to them. And you all can too. And that's the only way we're going to save this culture, is if we start fighting back. And I don't mean fighting as in fist fighting. I don't mean like that. We have to stand our ground emotionally, rationally, verbally.
Yep.
Say no.
I got fired before I even got to put my money where my mouth is, but he put his money where his mouth is. He turned down a $10,000 offer, like up front. You know, $30,000 in revenue for advertisements to get ad reads for this course. This was the opportunity to bring back education. We need to bring back education in a conservative realm. We really do. I love children, and with what happened to me, which he knows, by the way, he knows my trauma about how I was manipulated and abused by a pedophile for 3 years. He knows that. I really want to help kids. And so starting with this course, that is putting really good scientific, positive energy into the educational sphere that it is lacking right now because it is being taken over by leftist drag queens. So we need to take it back.
I don't like asking for help. It hurts my ego, I guess. You know, it makes me. It's my pride.
It's your pride.
You know, I don't like it because we've been in so many situations over the past couple of years, or the past 2 years things have been so crazy that we haven't been able to stabilize, and we can't keep our head above water, and everything we try to do is just collapsed. And so the support means a lot because it's good to feel like I'm not alone. You know, I want my views challenged, and I was welcoming a discussion from this guy about like this pronoun ideology, like rationalize this for me so that I can try to align with you. But he couldn't. All he could do is say it's about assimilation.
He's mentally ill and he's rich, so he will always be bailed out, even though he treats everyone around him like shit. It sucks that the people that have the most money are the most horrible people, but like it makes sense, right? We all know who the elites are, and the elites trickle down to their families. We all know.
This is how everyone has to come together with this and stand up against this toxic culture. None of us are going to agree on everything. I'm sure that if I got into a deep enough conversation with all of you, I would have something that I disagree with somewhere. That's okay, because we could still unify. This whole diversity is strength garbage is false. It's false. It's 1984. Diversity is not strength. Unity is strength. And the world wants us to forget that because that's how we fall.
Yep. So diversity is strength is doublethink.
Don't let them convince you that you don't have your convictions and what you say isn't real. Unity is strength. The left unifies. These wokes will unify over everything, even if it makes no logical sense whatsoever. So we can be like that too, and we can ground our thoughts in reality. Yeah, I'm really passionate about this right now because I was slept 3 hours last night, and I was up all night fighting for truth to lose. And it hurts, and it sucks. Not because I don't have the job, but because I have to fight for truth, and I lose for it. Trying to say that it's my fault, and I'm the reason they lost their jobs, when it was his decision to fire them. My students are my world because they keep the roof over my head. They're the only people that keep me afloat, you know? They're the only people who keep me passionate about what I do. The world has stripped the love of my teaching away from me, and my students keep that alive. So I would never want to do something that hurts them. And this guy who was my student has just sabotaged this and tried to sabotage me in the process.
And we simply will not stand for that. We're putting our voices out there. We are so happy that you guys came and listened to us. Thank you for liking and following this stream. We are so happy that we have a community that is open and is thinking and that has actual brains, that are not so open-minded. Their brain falls out onto the floor.
They cannot push you over the line.
Yep.
So do it. Draw your line in the sand and don't step over it. If I can do it, you can do it. And I mean that. I'm not trying to be patronizing. I mean that. You have the strength in yourself to do that. We all do. We just got to find it.
Yep.
Stand your ground. Thank you, everybody. We want to be the change, you know? We want to be an influence on people. We want to be good, and we want to help the world. So
Yep.
you guys being here means everything in that sense. So thank you so much.
Yep.
And it's inspiring, and we're not going to stop.
This is honestly kind of par for the course for us. Like, our lives are so ridiculous and unstable, and we do not deserve that. Not a bit.
It's not because we're unstable people.
Unstable, horrible, narcissistic, evil people see the good in us, a passion for truth and honesty and science, and they want to destroy that. Anyway, thank you guys for being here, and we will see you very soon. Talk to you soon, guys.
Take care, guys. Thank you for everything.